There we go.
So
Hi, Sean.
you're going to be, this is Sean Denovan has just joined us here in the studio.
Yay!
He is our technician. He's fixing everything that I did not do or did incorrectly. Thank you so much, Sean.
Now the internet can hear you.
Oh, we on now?
Oh,
Yeah.
So no one heard Dan at all.
they don't know how to pronounce your name, Dan.
Right, okay, recap. Falks.
Don Fox is
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Yeah.
The Today Show,
The Today Show, yeah.
Australia.
Video with the ukulele and my daughter. The Today Show Australia picked it up, so we're going to be talking about it tomorrow. Live stream from Las Vegas.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. That's really awesome,
Yeah,
Dan.
it's going to be
Very
cool.
cool.
All right. And also in the studio, and I'm sure we'll talk a little more about this, but Adam Mast.
Atom.
Hello, and it is pronounced Mast.
Is it
Mast.
So,
So
thank
it's
you.
Adam Mast.
Atom?
Adam.
Adam.
Atom.
Got it.
Adam and Mast.
And Adam, I have to tell you, this is the first time I've actually met you. I've heard your name for years now.
Yes, and your reputation certainly precedes you.
I
As of
hope
yours.
not, as a matter of fact. But, Adam, you're a filmmaker in town as well.
I am.
And you've also delved into
dabble.
directing live theater, haven't you?
For the first time, I did. I directed A Christmas Story, the musical, which was a wild adventure. I've been doing movies for years. I did theater in high school. I'm old. It's been a long time since the Sound of Music days. I was Kurt Von Trapp. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Hey,
yes.
the original Kurt
my
Von
big
Trapp.
note was La. Thank you very much. A great show. So that was such an amazing experience and getting to meet a lot of new people. Actually, that's kind of where I really started hearing your name and your lovely wife. So that's kind of how I was introduced to you guys a little bit. So
And it was a fantastic production. A lot
It
of
was-
people.
it really.
It's a big cast.
Yeah. I was told going in, Adam, you're going to get really stressed out. That was true. My first play actually had kids and animals in it. So go figure. I really took it on right from the get-go, but it was a great experience. And meeting a lot of great actors and theater people, really amazing. So.
How many animals did you have in that show? And please don't include the children.
Well, we had a couple of dogs. 3 to be exact, and they were pretty unpredictable. Well, one of the dogs, Toby, was awesome to work with. He was a dream dog, better than a lot of people I've worked with, I might add. And then there were the 2 other dogs were a little more unpredictable, but they were adorable, and they got to fight over the turkey, the big turkey scene at the end of the show. So it was a lot of fun.
The famous turkey scene.
The famous turkey scene. One of the great movies of all time. I wouldn't have said yes to just any show just because I knew going in it was going to be a big challenge. But I've seen Christmas Story probably 350 times.
And that's just
and
the
it
day
keeps
before
getting funnier
Christmas as they
every
loop.
single time I see it.
That was just 1 year.
Little Beetlejuice humor there.
That's all right. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Don't say it.
Come for your daughter, Chuck.
Well, excellent. And you mentioned that you've been doing this for quite a while, and Dan as well.
Yes.
Not as long as Adam.
No, but Dan, holy cow, has this guy evolved into something? This guy is just super amazing. Have you seen some of his stuff?
I have, as a matter of fact. Some really impressive film work going on.
Definitely.
I'm not going to let you escape, though, the
Yeah.
fact
Good
that
actor,
in
Bring it
too.
back.
Oh,
Heck of a good
fantastic actor.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, but looking at both of your bios, there were 3 letters that stood out, VHS. So you started with, what kind of camera did you guys start with making these movies?
Beta.
Yeah, he is.
Me too. I had a Betamax.
Oh, well, actually,
Then
going.
Laserdisc.
Yeah, exactly. Going back even further, though, you've heard this story from lots of, famous filmmakers. My dad had like the Super 8 millimeter, no sound. So really old school. But then, of course, video came into the equation, which brings us up to now, which if it's so accessible now. You can do so many great things. You've got all this software at your disposal. Shoot movies on iPhones now. It's
phone.
just crazy.
Isn't that
Edit on
Unsane
your
is the movie out right now?
phones.
Yeah. But that doesn't make it easy. I mean, you still have to have the ability to tell a story. That's
Right.
really what it starts there. It starts with the writing, which is actually my favorite part of the process, is coming up with an idea, and it's awesome.
Well, my parents didn't have a Super 8 camera. In fact, we didn't have any kind of a video camera or anything like that. What we did have was one of those Kodak cameras where you had the magic cube on top for the
Yeah, I
flash.
remember those. Yeah.
Now, I really am going somewhere with this. My introduction to film myself was a film that I affectionately called Starbase 77. I was into sci-fi movies. I had seen Star
Starbase.
Wars. This was back when I was 7 years old. and I had Star Wars figures.
Yeah.
And I figured, why pay actors? I had Star Wars figures. Yes, I was getting into claymation. I was getting into stop motion.
Stop motion, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the problem was there were only 12 exposures on each film. My parents,
It's a short film.
Oh, absolutely. Especially because the opening credits took up the first 2 rolls of
Usually,
film.
yeah.
Of course.
I cut them out from paper and put them
Gotta
on
see
the
your name
piano
up
bench.
there.
Written by Michael Harding.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Harding, that's
Directed
okay.
by Michael Harding.
Absolutely.
Starring Michael Harding. Yeah, no, yeah.
I'll tell you,
About the credits.
the film was so bad. I had the credits, of course, for 24 exposures on there, but I also had a little stop motion of Luke Skywalker walking under a bush, and I thought, what a great opening scene, walking under a tree.
Yeah.
I was a little embarrassed. I hid all of those films,
Yeah.
and they haven't been revealed yet.
Where
I'm
are
I was
waiting.
going to say, I know I
Where
speak for
are
Dan
they?
and I both. Where can we see these movies?
Yes.
They'll be dug up somewhere and
On YouTube.
absolutely, and shown on. Well, Jay Leno isn't around anymore. That's just
Yeah.
how old I am.
Yeah.
But Seth Meyers or one of these shows.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Now, do you remember the first show that you made, Adam?
The first show
Oh,
that I
I'm sorry,
made,
the first
or
film.
The first movie that I saw in a theater.
Oh, which one did
made.
you see first?
Well, first film that I have a true recollection of just seeing and being completely enveloped, and this is a great one to have, is Jaws.
Absolutely, I
Spielberg's
remember
Jaws.
that.
Yeah, I believe 75. My parents took me to see it in a drive-in. It was on a double bill with this really cheesy H.G. Wells adaptation called Food of the Gods. Do you remember Food of the Gods?
I don't remember that.
With
No.
giant rats and bugs and stuff like that. But Jaws, man, did that movie knock me for a loop. I mean, it was so great. And that said, I think the film that really got me into storytelling, and no, it's not Star Wars, even though I saw Star Wars when I was, 7, 8 years old, I think. In fact, I've seen every Star Wars movie opening day. How cool is that?
That's special.
Showing my age.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Showing my age
That's
for
special,
sure.
though.
But it was definitely, for me, Raiders of the Lost Ark is the one. And as you can tell, I'm a big Steven Spielberg fan. Love the guy. Still like his movies.
He
Even enjoyed
defined
Ready
movies.
Player One. Ready Player One was.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's fun.
I need to go see it.
It's fun. I mean, it's not a Spielberg masterpiece, but look at this guy's resume.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
I'll tell you, his body of work really does encompass my life watching movies. Not that I'm
Yeah.
like his characters; they are my life. But I grew up watching his movies as they
and
progressed.
you've experienced. You can recall an experience in your life set to the backdrop of a Steven Spielberg, or as the fans like to call him, the Beard.
The
I had to
Beard.
throw that
Right.
out
The
there.
Berg.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm right there with you. And the guy is so much more than a movie maker. I mean, he's an artist. He's a great filmmaker. One of my favorite films of all time is Schindler's List. I don't bust it out
Absolutely.
for an evening of entertainment by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But man, does that movie? It's transcendent. It transports you. You are there.
I remember seeing it in the theater and being blown away.
Yeah.
Empire of the Sun.
Fantastic. Totally
Oh,
underappreciated.
Absolutely.
Really underappreciated. And one of John Williams' very best scores. I
Absolutely.
love the score in that film.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
First
Young
performance
started
Christian
right
Bale.
before Batman. Before
Where are the
Batman.
Before he
Japanese?
developed his
Exactly.
voice. Yeah.
Where are they?
And actually, in the most recent production of Willy Wonka the musical, there was Jared who played
Yes.
Willy Wonka. He
Fantastic.
threw in a little bit of a tribute to The Dark Knight when
Oh,
he
that's
was
right.
having
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah.
kid say "swear to me." He said,
Swear.
"Swear to me."
That's right.
I'm not sure everybody quite got that, but
I think I was the only person laughing. But those are the moments.
Those were the
Aren't those
moments.
the great moments?
Absolutely.
It's always the magic that's not on the page. And it's
Yeah.
not just that way in theater, as Dan can attest. When you're making a movie, even like a little movie that just with no budget and a group of friends, a lot of times it's that magic. It's that thing that's not on the page that ends up being, the moment in the movie. It's
Right.
really cool.
Yeah.
well, Dan, what was the first movie you
Unscripted.
saw that really inspired you, that made you want to get into it?
First movie I remember seeing in the movie theater was actually Home Alone.
Oh,
Really?
awesome.
Yeah, that shows you how young I am.
I'll do
Thanks
this for the
pointing
camera.
that out, Dan.
Right? There you go. Yeah, I remember sitting in the theater and I actually screamed when Daniel Stern stepped on the nail
Oh, so
because
good.
that, I was probably 4 years old and I still have that image burned into my head.
It's a great moment.
It just yeah.
The
I
question is,
screamed.
was your scream similar to Daniel Stern's scream when
It probably
when
was.
Kevin puts the spider on his
Yeah, I
face,
think
which
it's
is one of the all-time great
all-time
screams.
best
I mean,
screams,
that's right
yeah.
up there with Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. I
Yeah.
mean, that is an epic scream.
Yeah, that
Epic.
I probably did fill the theater with before he screamed with the spider. But I would say that the movie that really is very similar. Is actually The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Indiana
that one.
Jones.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's when I really started. Like, okay, I kind of want to do films. I want to be like an Indiana Jones. So I was, 5 years old, jumping off my couch and taking a belt to the fan, trying to
Do the whip.
swing like Indiana Jones.
That
so,
movie, that movie is such a blast. I saw that
Yeah.
at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. I called in sick to work that day.
I'm leaving.
Actually, 3 of us. I worked for a record store in Burbank, California, and we ditched work and we all went to the Chinese Theater to see that movie in Hollywood. And obviously, Spielberg and Lucas took a lot of guff for Temple of Doom, which I maintain is an awesome movie.
Just fun.
It is an awesome movie, but it's sort of the anti-sequel. It
Yeah.
pulls in opposite directions of Raiders, and Last Crusade kind of goes back to the spirit.
Really,
of-
in a deeper, between his father and son
Which is- and-
relationship, which made it meaty. Like it had a
Oh, without
Yes.
question. And Ford and Connery, Ford does that sort of aw shucks Boy Scout thing. He just wants his dad's approval
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
time, and it's a blast. And that movie, there's some backlash against it, like it's too cutesy. But man, I'm right
Yeah.
there with you, Dan.
Oh, I think it
love
found the
that
right
film.
as a
balance.
kid,
the
I watched
right
that
balance.
on repeat
Oh,
all the time.
River Phoenix, that whole opening
Yeah.
with River Phoenix as young Indiana Jones, money.
Super
It's so
believable. You think
entertaining.
he's
So
a young
entertaining.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about Crystal Skull. Moving on.
No, I was going to say, boy, they really did propel themselves to
Well,
something
they're
else there.
prepping. The new one shoots. It's going to start. Another year, July 2019, comes out in 2020. I hope that Ford is still alive.
I hope.
go
Well, they
for
can
it. I mean-
CGI. I mean, look at these Star Wars movies they're
That's
doing
true.
right
Well,
now.
but from Spielberg's last, comment of maybe making an Indiana Jane.
Indiana Jones.
I've heard about that.
Jones.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm not down with that.
Isn't that
you know?
Lara
Do you?
Croft?
Yeah,
Sort
exactly.
of, kind
Tomb
of.
Raider.
Yes.
I mean, come on. Would the
great.
fans be as forgiving if somebody said they wanted Jared Leto play Wonder Woman? I think not. Come on, Indiana Jones is
Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
It's a character.
Another property.
It's
Yeah.
iconic. Let's leave it as it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I feel, part of me feels like Indiana Jones 5 is happening because we got to make it up to the fans. I mean, there are plenty of people who
Yeah.
like Crystal Skull.
It just was.
that-
There really is.
I don't know them.
I-
I'll-
yeah.
I'll
I mean,
tell you.
there are moments,
I
there
think-
are isolated
yeah.
sequences in the movie that are
There's
quite
moments,
good. But
then it just
no.
went way too.
I mean,
out
LaBeouf
there.
flying with the monkeys, no thanks.
Absolutely.
No. So I'm hoping they can recapture it. Certainly, Harrison Ford was not an issue in Crystal Skull. I mean, he's still Indiana Jones as far as I'm concerned.
He'll always be.
And man,
Yes.
I'm loving what he's doing, revisiting these characters.
Oh,
I mean,
Blade
he was
Runner.
great in
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049. That movie has no business even existing, and I count me as a person that actually prefers it to Ridley Scott's original. And
Really?
I actually prefer it because I think it opens up the universe and it has everything that you love about the original, but it also has a much more emotional core, I think. And I feel like there's more of a moving connection to
And
be
I
found in
feel
it.
they really stuck to those who were fans of the first one, that they didn't deviate just for commercial success.
No, I totally agree.
And they kept true to the story and the characters. And I think that's why there was a lot of people that didn't like it because it was too slow.
And
or
it's
it was
fun. It's
too-
funny that you would make that comment
Yeah.
about commercial success because a lot of fans were bummed that the movie didn't make money. But let's be honest, the movie was never destined to become a blockbuster.
Yeah.
It really
Right.
is so
For
much in
fans.
tune with the original
Yeah.
movie, like in every shape and form. Anyway, I know we're getting off tangent, and of course Han Solo.
Great.
You brought Han Solo back
Han
too.
Solo, of course.
Anyway.
That was
He's
fantastic.
gonna remake. Yeah, he's gonna be a part of.
Speaking of Han Solo,
Because-
Dan
He's
Fowkes.
not done.
Han Solo, man, you should have auditioned for the Solo spinoff.
I actually did.
I know, we
send
talked
my
about it.
headshot and resume.
Look
Did
at
you
him.
really?
Look at this
Trying
face.
to just get an audition.
Well, you
Say
should have had
alive.
the name Don Fox.
It should have. That's where I messed up.
Can we hear you say a Han Solo line?
A
I
Han
love you.
Solo line. Oh,
Yeah.
I know. There we go. I said it with you. I'm sorry.
I know, Michael. I know.
I love you, Solo.
And I do have to ask, I know we've gotten a little off topic.
I know, movies, man.
But I'm
Sorry.
enjoying this.
Hey, we just do what we do.
Who's directing the last Star Wars?
J.J. Abrams is coming back.
Fantastic.
Funny enough, it was supposed to be Colin Trevorrow who made Jurassic World, and then a little movie called Book of Henry came out and tanked. Actually, they I know. These are
It's like, no.
I'm talking out my booty. I don't know these stories to be true. I'm telling you what I read. Stupid online
on
gossip.
Facebook.
Yeah, I mean,
rants.
If it's on the internet, it's true.
the
It
truth.
is, yeah.
Yeah, the truth is Colin Trevorrow. I mean, he made an independent movie called Safety Not Guaranteed. Have you guys seen it?
Yes.
Awesome
Independent
time
film,
travel movie. And he goes from that to Jurassic World. So something was going to have to give. You know, when they hired him to do Star Wars, I'm not entirely surprised that they kind of changed their mind. And
Yeah.
I'm sure
Give
Carrie,
it back to JJ.
yeah,
Absolutely.
bring it home. Carrie Fisher passing away. I'm sure that weighed heavy on a lot of people that were involved. Because as I've heard it, you know, they had a script. You know, they were ready to go, but they had to rework it with what
passing.
happened, which is really bummer. So
Absolutely.
so sad. But I'm glad that we got one last movie with Carrie Fisher, even though it's the most divisive Star Wars movie of all time. But that's a story for another
I
show.
would say the spoiler alert for everyone: when she was floating in space.
Oh,
I-
Mary
word.
Poppins, y'all.
Oh no! Before that scene, I thought they were gonna do really good justice for her character of just like that's where she's gonna live. That's where she's gonna
Absolutely.
be. And then
Yep.
she started floating back, and
No,
I'm like, you ruined
Just
it.
leave it alone.
You
I mean,
ruined it.
let's honestly, I feel like Last Jedi is a mixed bag. I'm a huge
Yeah,
fan.
it's
The
fun,
one
but-
thing I don't accept is Star Wars is just a movie. As the fans know, that saying doesn't hold water for us. No, it's much more than a movie. And Last Jedi, I get it. Rian Johnson wanted to subvert our expectations. He wanted to break everything down and
Yeah.
just kind of destroy everything that we know and love about it so that they can move it in another direction. And I completely understand why people are upset. Me, I was able to watch it. I enjoyed the movie. I have
Enjoyed it.
issues with it, but I liked
It's
it.
fun.
Absolutely.
What'd you think?
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I'll
fair
be
enough.
real open.
Fair enough.
But because it is Star Wars, and I agree, Star Wars isn't just a movie. The universe is something
Oh, man,
amazing.
it's, culture.
When I saw it because I had to in the sequence. I wasn't thrilled with it. I didn't walk out of the theater hating life. I wasn't ranting and raving.
But the disappointment's there.
Yeah, I'm ready for the
You didn't
next
go
one.
Fair
on
enough.
Facebook
Yeah.
making sure George Lucas sees
Yeah.
your post.
Oh, I gave him a
Exactly.
call.
Oh, did you?
And boy, we
George,
had it out.
Why'd you sell out?
I've got him on
You know,
speed dial.
it's hard to be upset with George Lucas after retooling the original trilogy and developing the story for Crystal Skull and all this stuff, because at the end of the day, this is still the guy that made our childhoods
Oh, it's
so
crazy.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
we have to remember that, and we still got all, let's be honest here. There are two great Star Wars movies, in my opinion, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
The rest of the films, I have a nostalgic fondness of Return of the Jedi, but the rest, all of these films are certainly flawed. They have issues. There are things going on. But yeah, I don't know, man. Last Jedi has really touched a nerve for a myriad of reasons.
Absolutely. Well, I really enjoyed Rogue One.
Yeah.
Really
That's
enjoyed that
fun.
movie.
Liked it to a certain extent. There are things about it that I didn't think it had a strong heroine. I really love Felicity Jones, but she didn't quite get there for me. But I agree. It feels like the legitimate prequel to A New Hope. It feels more like
It
a
was a fun
prequel than the
bridge.
prequels do.
Yeah, connecting.
Yeah. And there's
everything.
still all that. They can't resist throwing all the fan service in. What we're going to get from Solo is anybody's guess.
Oh,
I
man.
mean,
Right. And that
don't
one
know.
makes me nervous.
well,
Yeah.
have you seen the new trailer that just dropped? A brand new trailer
It
just
looks
dropped.
great.
Last one I saw was about a week and a half ago.
Well, the new one just came out 2 days ago, I believe, and it fleshes things
Yeah.
out. One thing that's really peculiar about that trailer, it leans, I feel, really heavy on the Lando and Chewie side. It's almost like they're reluctant to give us long stretches of actual Han Solo moments.
Yeah.
And there's been speculation about Alden, the actor from
Did
the
have an
Coen
acting
Brothers
coach.
movie. What's the
Hail Caesar?
Hail Caesar, which
Yeah.
was I really enjoyed.
I loved that movie.
Yeah.
I did too, and
It's
it's
fun,
not
yeah.
a liked movie in the Coen Brothers canon. It's not like one of their more popular movies, but I love how it skewers.
There's
But
nothing
you-
but
you
love
don't-
for that
but you
movie
don't
in
see-
here.
You're right. You don't see a lot of just Han Solo scenes
isms.
in
Exactly.
the trailer. It's just his look.
But I'm willing
you
to give
know?
him the benefit of the doubt because I think he's a terrific actor. And there's all the other stuff with Chris Miller and Phil Lord being replaced by Ron Howard. Like,
and the scoring going
big deal,
on.
kind of a
right
big deal.
now, but-
John Williams is back. I heard
Yeah.
he just composed the main theme. By the way, John Williams announced his retirement, which is a bummer.
Was it a real retirement?
coming
Or?
back.
He claims he's doing episode 9 and that he's done
And
after
he's
that,
done.
which
Got it.
doesn't make me
Yeah.
feel good about who's going to score Indiana Jones because
Right.
in terms of Indiana
John
Jones is
Williams
John
Jr.
Williams.
Don't call me Junior.
Ah,
I just
should
got
have mailed it
chills.
to the Marx Brothers.
Now, I'm going to get really controversial here
Yes.
Uh-oh.
and
Here
share
we
with
go.
you a personal reaction. We've been talking Star Wars, and I love Star Wars. I'm going to jump a little bit to J.R.R. Tolkien.
Okay,
And
don't say it.
I'm going to say I loved the Hobbit movies much more than I loved The Lord of the Rings. And this is the moment I'm going to share with you before you fling things across the studio. Adam is leaving right now.
I dropped my glasses.
He dropped his glasses, which actually happened to me when I saw Psycho in the theater. I got so scared my glasses fell off.
Well, you're
That was
talking
the
the
first time.
Hitchcock Psycho and not
The
Gus
Hitchcock.
Van Sant.
Yes, the
shot for
Hitchcock.
shot redo. Which,
My grandparents took me to that. Yeah, the shot-for-shot redo, that
Vince
was
Vaughn.
a waste of time.
Interesting experiment, but you're left wondering why. And Gus Van Sant, the director, says, well, no one makes a big deal out of a rock band covering someone else's song. Yeah, Gus, that's 3 minutes. I don't want I don't need an hour and
Shot for
45
shot.
minute.
Well, wasn't it Gene Wilder that said very bluntly in an interview when he was asked about or how he felt about remakes, he came right out and just said, it's an insult.
Yeah.
How do you feel
Yeah,
about
actually-
that?
Remakes in general?
Yeah, let's start
well,
there.
This is a
Yeah.
fun can of worms you're opening.
I like that.
Because John Carpenter's The Thing is one of the great movies of all time. In my opinion, the greatest remake ever made. And I think it does what a remake should do. It embodies the spirit of the original, but it does go off on tangents. What John Carpenter did is he took this whole sort of paranoia plot device, and that's what he encased this movie in. And I love that. And also David Cronenberg's The Fly, the remake of The Fly.
remake of-
With Jeff Goldblum?
Yep. It seems like genre movies, for whatever
can do
reason,
that.
the remakes are better. But there are other True Grit with Jeff Bridges, the Coen Brothers True Grit. I actually prefer that to the John Wayne.
You know,
Really?
I
it
do.
is. There is
Yeah.
there is a way you can reintroduce the story to a new generation or a new audience. But I do get Gene Wilder's quote. It kind of can be an insult because there's some things you just can't. If someone was to go out there and remake a Young Frankenstein,
No.
you can't do
And,
Why?
that.
and I think
Yeah,
if
why? You
I think
can't
if
do
you
that.
hone in Gene Wilder's comments, I think a shot-for-shot remake
Especially.
doesn't really make a whole heck of a lot of sense. But if you have something new to offer, why take greatness and remake it?
Yeah.
It's
That's
just like
my
you're
issue.
asking for trouble.
Let's remake Star Wars.
If you want to go, you want to go
But George
remake.
Lucas
can't
already
do
did that.
that.
Want to go remake an '80s movie like Chopping Mall? Like, have at it.
Meatballs?
Actually, I enjoy Chopping Mall, where shopping costs you an arm and a leg. I like
Oh,
that
geez.
movie. But anyway, I'm torn because there's plenty of remakes that I really liked. But yeah, I don't want
Yeah.
anyone remaking E.T. or The Godfather. Those are like perfect.
You can
Right.
watch them
Perfect
right now
movies.
and you can still get something new out of it.
Yeah, I want to go back to this Lord of the Rings Hobbit.
Oh, gotcha. I
debacle.
thought I'd avoided
Gosh.
that.
Man, I
I didn't watch really the new Hobbit movies because
They
they're
just
just
didn't-
too long.
they didn't engage me. And
Yeah.
but Michael, you got to give me this. Why take one Hobbit book and split it into 3?
Well, I think money is the answer right
well,
there.
Obviously, I mean, but really,
A
like
real live
Well, I'll tell
video
you,
game.
my reaction after seeing the first Lord of the Rings, what was that one?
Fellowship of the
The
Ring.
Fellowship of the Ring. And I'm not a huge fan of the books. I don't hate them. I just
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan. And at the end of that movie, I literally stood up and said, "That's it." I was in a bad mood.
Really?
And when they ended right there, I knew they
Right.
were making 3, but
Yeah.
I was ticked off. I said, "Give me
They left you
some
hanging.
satisfaction." Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's tricky business taking 3 stories that complete a whole that hit an overall arc, but give standalone stories at the same time. I think Lord of the Rings pulled it off.
Yeah,
for me.
and that's a hard thing to do because you have Lord of the Rings fan base. That's really hard. Where I think, as opposed to like a George Lucas with Star Wars,
Yeah.
he was introducing bits
It's an
and
original
pieces
thing. It
of, in
doesn't-
an original voice. Where you have Lord of the Rings, which is very loved
Already.
by an audience, and they already have a vision of it. So you have that up against you. when you're trying to
kind of a miracle series if you think about
know?
it. That also that film, those series of films saved New Line Cinema's bacon because they put a lot of money into that. But yeah, speaking truth here though, you got to admit, weren't you mad that you had to wait 3 years to find out what happened to Han Solo after Empire Strikes Back?
It's a good thing I was young, so I was distracted.
And we didn't have the internet. You darn well know if Empire Strikes Back came out today, the reveal, I'm not going to say it on the show for the two of the listeners out there that didn't see Empire Strikes Back.
Empire what?
The big surprise in Empire Strikes Back would have been spoiled online.
Oh,
You know
absolutely.
what I'm saying?
Easy.
It's such a catch-22, the internet, because part of the fun is the trailers and the buzz, and a lot of times that excitement leading up to the release is more exciting than the end result. That's the culture we live in now. That's the sort of fanboy nerd culture which I'm part of. I'm one of those. I go to Comic-Con in San Diego every year. I go to Sundance Film Festival. I love that part of it.
I was in 5th grade when Return of the Jedi came out, and I remember, of course, no internet at that time, no Facebook, and a kid named Charlie. I won't say his last name. I don't know if I can do that, but that was back in Virginia, for Pete's sake. If he's listening, hi Charlie.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but he came in, and it was for show and tell. And we had kids come up and they showed their microscope or they showed a gift they had gotten at Christmas. And he stood up and said right out what the big reveal for Return of the Jedi was.
He had information that was important.
And I'll tell you, he didn't come back to school for a week. And I'm not saying he went to the hospital, but I am saying that he got attacked.
So that was your first taste of spoiler culture.
Absolutely.
Basically. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, man. Don't you miss those days?
I do.
There's something to
now
be said.
You just get thrashed on social media. By
You do.
words.
And
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Not held accountable for your
I'm
actions.
not loving this post. I'll like it, but I'm not going to love it.
Can't they have a not loving this post icon?
Right.
Where's that
Where's
icon?
the
Wouldn't that be
thumbs
great?
down?
Let's create that. Can we patent that?
Can I put an ignore? I didn't see
not
this.
liking
We
this
still,
much
we
icon
still have
at
to be
Facebook.
passive aggressive. So
Yeah, exactly.
We have to
Passive
have that.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So let's get into the filmmaking part
Yeah,
of this.
Here we go.
actually, Dan, why don't you talk about you've done some really awesome stuff, man. This guy's been in a couple of features even.
You've done some good stuff, Dan. Tell us about it.
Thank you. Okay, well, I guess it started back, obviously, when I was a kid. I wanted to make films. I think my first ever, it's going to be a little controversial nowadays, but when
50
I was
Shades of Grey.
When I was 13,
Oh, I saw that, Dan.
Yeah.
You were great in that.
Thank you. Yeah. When I was 13 years old, it wasn't because I just thought it was funny. But it was called One Man Army. And
Are you serious?
Really?
I know that movie.
well,
That's great.
It was called One Man Army, and I was believe it or not, a zombie albino Mexican.
You've got a good complexion
That's
now,
a
so
cool
I don't
combination.
really believe
I came
it.
back from the dead, and that was my first little short film that I did with just neighborhood kids and.
That whole description wouldn't fly now.
No, that's what I was saying. Now I'm gonna get attacked on.
Yeah.
It's a romantic comedy
Yeah.
with Don Fox.
Don Fox. No, but that was my first
Danny.
one, and then just growing up, and coming to the big city. I mean, actually,
The big city of St.
I actually
George?
met Adam through the guerrilla competition.
But, tell us about this.
Yeah.
We've mentioned that a few times. What is the Guerrilla Film Festival?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back to the early origins of it. Back in the early 2000s, there were twin brothers, Matt and Nate Fackrell. Now, it's not Fat Girl, it's Fackrell, Fackrell. If you guys are listening, there, I cleared it up. They did a film festival for a couple of years here called the Eclipse Film Festival. It was pretty popular for a couple of years. And one of the things they did the first year of that festival is they did a little quick turnaround filmmaking competition. And they invited a group of people out to a designated spot. They gave a theme. And then we had about, maybe a day to put together a short film using any resources available to us. The catch in those days is that the software wasn't where it was now. You didn't have any of that, and we also had to edit in camera. So literally, we shot ours with a VHS camcorder, and the thing we shot, we couldn't come up with a title. The theme was revenge, so I just called it Untitled Revenge Project. I thought that was funny, but it has since become a thing of legend. Everyone refers to it as Bad Ronald. Which we don't have it online. I'll tell you about it off the air. Maybe we'll put it online.
We're going to be searching for it.
Exactly. But the idea was this. It was an action piece. It was really, really funny. We had a lot of fun, and it had sort of a definitely influenced by Road Warrior, Indiana Jones, that kind of a stuff. And it's basically just an extended 5-minute chase scene. And so we would literally shoot part of it and then hit pause on the camcorder, then set up the next shot. I think Dan can attest. This is when you're first starting. Yeah, it's how you have to do it. You know, Rocco de Villiers. Are you familiar with Rocco de Villiers?
I am not.
He made The Fly Boys. The film that was
gotcha.
shot in Utah.
In Southern Utah, not James Franco.
Not the Dean Devlin.
I know they're
James
very
Franco
close.
movie.
Yes,
that's Fly Boys. This is The Fly Boys.
The Fly Boys.
He shot a film in the early '90s called Pure Race. Have you seen it, Dan?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's an interesting flick. He literally cut this thing by splicing with 2 VCRs. That's how he cut the movie.
I remember doing that with cassette tapes, never a video though.
Yeah,
so,
I used to do that.
And this is the common thing before we came in to all this stuff. And admittedly, I'm embarrassed to admit it. I'm not a tech guy. I like to surround myself around super duper and talented people like Dan and Sean and Jeff, a myriad of friends here locally who are really good at what they do. I really like writing and I love directing and I love being all in that process. But it's at your fingertips now. You can do all this cool stuff. Anyway, these 2 guys moved away. They went to school in Pasadena, and there just sort of was nothing left. And I was like, you know what? That was really cool. They got a fairly good turnout. So 2005 rolls around. At this point, I had been doing a Halloween festival called Horror Fest. We do it every year. We've been doing it since 2001. The first one we did up in Springdale.
Horror Fest. I called that high school.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot like high school.
Horror.
Yeah, let me clarify.
Horror Fest.
The horror. Anyway, so we did it up in Springdale for a while, and it was a big Halloween festival, and we'd show like old school horror movies. I mean, you haven't seen The Shining and The Exorcist until you've seen them on an IMAX screen. It's really,
and I haven't. I've seen them on big screen, but not
really
IMAX.
cool.
Literally taste the throw up.
Oh,
whoa!
Yeah, everywhere. You can feel it. So I did that for a few years, and I was like, this is cool. I love doing this because I'm such a filmy. I love sharing movies with people and hoping that I can turn something on to something that maybe they're not familiar with. But I still was thinking, but I want to tell stories. And I really liked that they had done this thing back in the early 2000s. So I thought, you know what? Let's see if we can bring it back. So in October of 2005, I've been writing for The Independent here for 22 years, forever. Mm-hmm. So I did put a little story in there and said, hey, we're gonna invite any aspiring filmmakers out there. Come over, meet over at this designated area. We're gonna give a theme, give you a few days to make a movie. So we tried it. We had like 4 groups show up. Couple years pass, and there's a little bit more interest in it. So eventually I started doing them 3 times a year. We do one for Halloween, we do one for Christmas, and then we do one for the summer. So it kind of has spiraled from there, and the last couple have been pretty good. Like last summer, we had, I think, 28 teams show up, and we had all these short films. And we've kind of changed the process a little. We usually give the filmmakers a few weeks, and the truth is, you give them the theme, they usually squander the 3 weeks anyway. They usually make the movie in 2 days. Right. So we started a nonprofit called the Film and Media Alliance of Southern Utah. Just started it last year, and our goal is to continue to produce these events, give the filmmakers bigger prize money, but we also want to give the filmmakers a show. At the end of the day, it's about giving people this venue to tell stories and an audience to share those stories with. But we also want to show them, you can watch a movie on YouTube, you can watch a movie on your phone, but it's just not the same. Like watching something with it. You being a theater guy, theater. Michael, yeah,
you need an audience.
Exactly.
To share it with.
We really want it to be the film equivalent of community theater. That's the goal. I understand there's DSU, there's film school. I don't know that we're necessarily that. I mean, I feel like there's 3 different kinds of filmmaker that come through what we're trying to do. One is the aspiring filmmaker who's never done it and just they're afraid, and this gives them an opportunity to not be afraid, to just get their feet wet and try it and see if they like it. Then you've got maybe There's people who are a little bit older. We have a couple of filmmakers that have been, Brandon Tippett's and Lonnie Black.
Right.
They've been doing the challenge since the beginning. They made like 40 films for our challenges. Their story is in their 20s, they tried to make a go of it. They wanted to get in the industry. They wanted it to be their career. For whatever reason, it didn't pan out. And, they have families, they have 9-to-5 jobs, but they just love it so darn much. They need an outlet. So it's good for them. And then you've got the people maybe that are even professional, like Dan. Honestly, I believe in a couple of years you're going to be seeing Dan.
I've seen your product,
in
Dan.
a bigger
It's
venue.
pretty good.
I really sincerely believe that. And there's other people, Sean Lebrecht, Jeff Sanders. There's a lot of local people that maybe we don't know who these people are.
I think that's where especially the Guerrilla Film Festival on a local level, it does, because it gives you that opportunity and that venue to explore what you want to do. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that want to make films.
Right.
They want to be a filmmaker, but until you actually make a film,
you don't know.
You just don't know where you fall in that whole production scheme.
True.
And so I think having that Guerrilla, something local to where you can just experiment with it and figure it out and find yourself in it.
And point being, even though Dan is well on his way, he'll still dabble. Every now and again, he'll come back and do a guerrilla short because in between projects, you want to hone your skills and just try something.
Yeah.
So it's open to that market too. I should also say that there's a very valuable tool that something like these challenges teach you, and that's to be quick on your feet with no money. I don't care who you are. If you're Steven Spielberg, you could be the biggest filmmaker on the planet. Crap happens. There's things that happen, and you need to learn how to deal with those things. And I feel quick turnaround challenges like this, they do train you for those types of circumstances.
Yeah. And I think finding to find your career in it, it's like any other business venture that you want to pursue. There's a lot of sacrifice and time that you have to be willing to give up to go for anything that you're passionately want in life. I mean, it's
even on a lower level like Guerrilla. But you're in the midst.
But I mean, that's been my experience with the Guerrilla is finding it and knowing that there was a local effort of filmmakers that get together and premiere their shows, and there's an audience attached to it, and people come and watch it and enjoy it. It does help feed into that energy of, okay, cool. Well, that was really nice. And then for me to try to find a career in it, obviously I have to go outside of St. George because the film industry is, professionally is not.
It's true.
In St. George.
Honestly, I get really bummed out when we have some really cool filmmaker come in and do a few guerrilla shorts, and then they just stop making them. It always bums me out. I get really sad and down on myself. But then the flip side of that is like, you know what? It's really cool, especially if they decide to take the next step. Like, be it they go to school or they move away and they get a job, and I do take like comfort in. I'm not responsible for that. I just think it's cool.
It's a good facilitating.
It's just cool that they're doing as a hobby at first, and then they move on. And I feel like Dan, and there's a few other people I really feel like they're on their way. And it's really cool to be able to experience all this really cool storytelling, and there's not an outlet for filmmakers. If you're a musician, you can. I know everyone gets tired of me saying this. Dan's heard me say it 1,000 times, but you haven't.
First time.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
If a musician is sitting out on a street corner, they can break out the guitar and play for tips. If you're a filmmaker, it's not that easy. I mean, you can bust out your laptop and show someone your movie, but again, it's not the same.
Well, tell me, how do I get into this? I'm really interested, and I really love hearing the passion that you guys have for this. Say I want to be a part of Guerrilla Film Festival. I own an iPhone. That's it. What do I do? Where do I go?
Well, we're doing I have the nonprofit I was telling you about. It's called the Film and Media Alliance of Southern Utah. We are holding a fundraiser at the Electric Theater on May 5th. At this fundraiser, our plan is to share a mission statement and to hopefully get a whole new group of people in there who don't know what this is about, so they can see what we're about. We'll share a mission statement. We're going to show a handful of films that have been made through these challenges through the last 13 years. One film that Dan made with Sandy Catton and Peter Goodge, it's called Life Support. You may have seen it. It is phenomenal. In my opinion, I think it's probably the best film I've seen come out of the Guerrilla Filmmaking Challenges. Don't look at it online. Come and watch.
Come and watch it.
Come and watch
Right.
it. It's really moving, and it has something to say, and it's very heartfelt. We're going to show a few other films there as well. And at the end of that fundraising event, we're going to drop the theme for our upcoming summer movie edition of the challenge, which will be a lot of fun. So essentially, we'll give the theme there. There's a fee. It's nominal. It's really not much. We do give pretty good prizes, at the event, cash prizes. I don't like the competition aspect of it to get in people's heads. I recognize, it's par for the course, and a little competition never hurt anyone. Sometimes you drive each other, that way through the competition. But yeah, we're going to announce everything at this fundraiser, what our plans are for the year. But that's the first step. We do have a Facebook page. It's just Southern Utah's Guerrilla Filmmaking Challenge. We also are planning a series of filmmaker spotlights that are outside the parameter of Guerrilla. If somebody's made a film on their own and they're looking for a place to show it, again, there's not a lot of avenues for local filmmakers. Anybody, people that are at the college, people that are just doing it on their own as a hobby, all ages, all skill sets, it doesn't matter. We want it to be for everyone. So May 5th, if you come to the Electric, we'll give some more insight on that.
I think that when it comes to filmmaking, it's what I've learned about filmmaking is it's number one, collaboration. I mean, any theater production knows that too. It is a collaborative effort if you really want to make something. And I think having Guerrilla, and it's an opportunity for people to really come together. And it doesn't, because you're not making it commercial gains or anything. I mean, it's really, you're all coming together. Everyone has some input. You get to create something, and I think that's the biggest aspect of filmmaking is you literally just get to create something that doesn't stand up to anything else. That's what makes it fun.
And then you get to sit with a crowded room of
and total
strangers, and you can feel. I'm serious.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that feeling you get of people being moved or even hating something that you made. It doesn't matter. You're evoking a response. And Dan's right. It's collaboration. You're a novelist. Yeah, you're going to have editors, but that's a solitary sport, man. When you're a songwriter, you're writing a song by yourself. Film is the genuine, and theater. Those are collaborative art forms. And film
Joint
is
ventures, yeah.
Exactly. And film is storytelling, just like everything else. And there's a big market for it. So.
Well, fellas, I have to tell you, we're sadly out of time for this show. Absolutely. We're seeing some frantic.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And I'd actually love to have both of you on again. This is a conversation that I've thoroughly enjoyed
having.
And before
you hang up on us, Dan, at least tell everyone like a couple of the things of yours that you've done that are out there.
Well, I have a website, danfowkes.com. So you can find my IMDb on there. Done a couple of independent feature films. So go check it out.
Right, and unfortunately, we are out of time. But Adam Mast and Dan Fowkes.
To be continued.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Michael.
Have a tremendous time making films, and everybody, we'll see you out there at the arts.
Thank you.